Okay, guys, some announcements. Remember, this meeting is being recorded. If you have any questions, would you please come up to the microphone so that the recording can hear you? And if you want to face the camera back there, be my guest and just get behind the other side of the microphone. We're looking for pictures of classes that you have taught or ones that you've taken, and we're going to put together a gallery. So if you have anything like that, send those pictures to president@slwg.org, and Brian will take care of that. In the forum, we periodically get requests from outsiders who are looking for somebody to do some work for them. Sometimes they're looking for gratis, and sometimes they're willing to pay for the work. But in the past, we have not kept track of who has volunteered to do Project XYZ for somebody that put a request in. We're now asking that you, in the forum, reply to that and say who you are and what you're working on, so that we can keep track of all the good we're doing there. The board has decided that on open shop days when it's real cold, we frequently don't have anybody show up. And it's going to be up to the shop monitor whether they want to open the shop or not. But if we are not going to open the shop, even though it's an open shop day, we're going to post it on the website that the shop is closed because of the cold weather. Do we have any visitors today? Please stand up. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Steve and Valerie Botkin. We're from the St. Charles area. We are wood carvers. Bob there has joined our wood carving group and invited us to come to the meeting to hear what you're talking about tonight. So, thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm David Christoph. My good friend Paul Bailey back here said, hey, there's this woodworking guild out here, and I thought I'd come and check you all out. I'm a fretwork guy. I do scroll saw, and been doing it for several years now. It's always hard to find the right kind of wood, and I'm looking for it constantly. So if anybody is out there a supplier of wood, I like mine 3/4. Excuse me, 3/8, not 3/4. 3/8 inch. But other than that, thank you much.
Welcome. We have at least one new member. Where's Sandy hiding? You're infamous.
Yeah, I'm already famous. My name is Sandy Cup. I'm a beginner. All I've done so far is start collecting hand tools and a bandsaw. So I need a mentor.
Sandy, how many fingers do you have?
All of them.
Okay. Community outreach. Rick, do you have any numbers to report for contributions and toys delivered to the hospitals?
This month we are delivering 280 toys to the hospitals. And I don't know the other charities what we're giving yet. And we've collected tonight 200 toys.
I'm Tom Tierney for the HSH Home Sweet Home Table Outreach Program. I've got wood four tables in the back of my pickup truck, which is parked right outside. I loaded 80 pieces, and I don't want to take any of them home. So even if you can't build a table right now, take some wood, and when you get a chance, build a table for Home Sweet Home. Our outreach program takes cutoffs from a barrel maker, a food maker up in Westport. It's all first and seconds, 8-quarter white oak, and it's scraps of wood 12, 14 feet long that we cut into pieces, and then we take those pieces and put them together for tabletops and legs. It's on the information's on our website, and we actually have some drawings, diagrams of some of the tables that they like to have. Most of it's small end tables and nightstands, things of that sort. So it's a great program. It's a good skill building program for the newbies. The shop's available, the shop equipment's available for cutting, ripping the pieces into gluable parts. For those people that don't have internet, Home Sweet Home is an organization, a charitable organization located in Brentwood, Hanley Industrial Court. And they're set up sort of like an IKEA, where they have different sections of just everything to set up a new home. So if somebody's a refugee, somebody is divorced, somebody has any kind coming out of prison, whatever, they serve the St. Louis area, and they provide everything you would need to set up a home. So their client, I think they serve like 300,000 people a year. I mean, it's just crazy. We have built and delivered so far 72 tables. After tonight, we should be, some folks brought in tables. We should be close to 80 tables. Our goal is to have 100 tables by the end of March, which would be the first anniversary of the program. 22 people have contributed tables from the guild, and we've got 300 members, so we're the rest of you, we can use you, and they can use us. So thank you.
Wayne Humphrey is not here tonight. He's heading up the program to build Toys for Tots, and it's sort of been in hiatus since the holidays, but he's got it scheduled to start up March 3rd. I think the website is showing it from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I don't think that's correct, and I called him, but I didn't get a return call. I think the correct time is noon to 4 o'clock. So that's 2 Fridays a month, the first and third Friday. You get to do homework between. We have some upcoming classes. 2 ones a little behind us. On 3/2, we have a safety class. On March 4, we have a joiner setup class that Dan Coleman's going to put on for us. He's helped me with my joiner before. I think it'll be a very good class. Jay Knopfinger is teaching a class on March 11 in his shop over in Illinois on oval boxes. He's done this class before. It's really very interesting. They're shaker boxes of different sizes where the wood is bent. Next. The shorty classes, for those of you who are new, are a free class that one of the shop monitors puts on, and it's an hour before open shop time on a Saturday. And this shorty class will be about the router table, how to use it safely, what it can do, and that lasts for an hour ahead of the open shop time. On the 26th, there's a bowl turning class that we need some more sign-ups for if you're interested in turning. Brad Bernhardt teaches that class. He's a very good turner. You'll learn a lot. On April 1, we have another sharpening class. Yours truly is going to teach that. So there are a lot of different ways to sharpen your tools, and we will show you all of them that we can think of. On the 29th, and there is a class. We had a program with the Rockwood schools where the guild was building toy kits that we'd put together in a plastic bag, and these fourth graders would then assemble them in a class that typically lasted about 2 hours. And we had some written instructions that went with it. Well, the teacher, much to my disdain, got promoted. She's a principal now, after she got her PhD, of course. So she isn't teaching, and the new teacher contacted me and said she was going to keep on working with us, but nothing happened last fall, and I sent her another email to find out what's going on, and I didn't get any response. So I'm afraid that program is not going anywhere. So we've got about 100 kits that we had prepared for previous classes that we need to assemble and turn them into the toy program. There's a road grader, there's a front end loader, there's a truck, so there's a variety of stuff, 5 or 6 different patterns. And particularly if you're a novice woodworker, it's a good way to see how toys are put together. We'll use a pin nailer, which we didn't let the children use, and so that they don't, the glue joints don't slip around so much. It'll be a fun little project, and if we get enough people, we can knock that out in a couple hours. We have some upcoming presentations. There will be a wood carving demonstration next month, so that's going to be March. A bowl turning demonstration in April, and Don Turner is going to talk about building kitchen cabinets in May. On April 22nd is our Superstar weekend. Tom McLaughlin is coming in from New Hampshire with his wife. He was on PBS there for a while last fall. They took the woodworking show off on Saturday afternoon, so I haven't seen him in a while. He does very nice work. He's an entertaining woodworker. He's fun to watch. Show and tell.
Well, at an antique fair, I spotted a lawn bowling ball. Now, what's special about it, I didn't have any idea what I was going to do with it, but what I knew was this ball is made out of lignum vitae. So I viewed it as a beautiful piece of wood on the cheap. So it sat around for a goodly while as I decided, so how am I going to use this treasure? So I eventually decided to kind of preserve it in its form. So it has a medallion on the top, and on the bottom it had another medallion embedded in it with a number, and there's 4 balls in a set. This happened to be number 1, but that made any difference. But so eventually I mounting something that's already round when you want to do lathe work proves to be a challenge. So I did mount it. I used on the back end, I could use a screw chuck, but for the top that was round, because I wanted to hollow it, that was a challenge. So an enormous amount of hot melts eventually solved the problem onto a faceplate that I had turned to sort of match the curvature of the top. And if you look in the inside, what's neat about this wood, sanding is a non-issue. You just it comes off in beautiful ribbons, and you really don't have to do anything after that. Also, I wanted to keep the curvature of the ball. Of course, when you cut into it, you lose some because you need the tenon here to fit in. So I put a piece of corian on to make up that gap, and then turned it to the proper thickness to get so that the curvature matched. And of course, when you're glued on this kind of wood, you have to be, do something to remove the oils from the wood, and I used epoxy to glue it. So, And the base, I used a piece of corian as well. So made a neat little project for out of a ball. Thank you.
Our guest tonight is Dan Bechtold, and he owns a sawmill in Grafton, and he's going to tell us about the sawmill industry.
Well, I've got some notes, so don't get rattled here. But I'm from Grafton, Illinois. I'm from Grafton, Illinois. I don't know if you're very familiar with Grafton. We do flood a lot. You know, that's just a characteristic. Grafton is definitely a little tourist town. We have 650 people, 16 liquor license, so you tell you what we do. But what I'll start out is with how we started, or how I started. We have a total, I have a total of 3 sawmills, one electric, Woodmiser LT15 wide, LT70, and then I have a Cook's 54. And the Cook's 54 will cut a 54-inch log, which is pretty big. And then I've got an Alaskan that'll cut a 64-inch log, but that Alaskan's for young people. It is not for guys that got gray hair, I can tell you that. So anyway, what we started out as a hobby. I bought my first sawmill in 1978, an old 52-inch circular mill. And I'd cut on weekends and, you know, when I had free time. Well, as time progressed, I finally got to retire in 2016. Well, when I retired, I started cutting full time, and then it went crazy. So now I only work 7 days a week, 10 hours a day. My brothers, I have 6 brothers, and they tell me I'm a very poor example of retirement. So that's just one of those deals. But I enjoy it. And my question, my brothers always ask me, how long are you going to do this? Well, until my health tells me I can't. And at 72, I feel still pretty good. And I still feel as though I can still go along. So I'm going to walk over here, Bob, so I want to get my notes here. But it kind of give you an idea how we started. And the other thing is, we have our own kilns. I actually went to a kiln drying school in Wisconsin, Stevenson, Wisconsin. God, it cost me $750. I mean, that was crazy. I thought I knew everything about kiln drying. After I went to school, I didn't know nothing. I was dumber than a box of rocks. But anyway, we went to this kiln drying school. I spent 7 days up there and got how you're really supposed to do it. So now we have 3 kilns and we dry lumber. And I actually lease kiln drying space from a place in Jerseyville, Hardin, and the one I've got myself. So, but one thing about kiln drying, what I tell people, they always say, oh, we cut this down yesterday. Can I throw it in a kiln? No, don't do that. What I tell people is, we make sure everything's air dried down to 22%. We won't throw anything in a kiln unless it's 22%. And the reason is you'll have less chance of warping, less chance of cupping or twisting. You can do it, you can throw it in there, but you're taking a chance. So to get down to that 20, when it comes off the mill, it's going to be 38%, somewhere in that neighborhood. But if you let it air dry about 3 months, down to 22, you got less chance of losing lumber, or as we call checking so bad you're going to pitch it. You just spend a lot of money to make firewood. So what we suggest is 22%, and it works out pretty good. So whenever I don't know, do you guys, do you buy green lumber, or do you do any of that at all? Turners do. Yeah, Turners like green lumber. So, but that's a suggestion. If you buy green lumber from a mill, make sure that you let that air dry, and I say make sure. My suggestion is that you do that, and you won't have a loss, so much loss. So that's a little story on kiln drying. And then from logs to lumber. Now when you buy, myself, I buy a lot of logs, and I buy all my logs from tree trimmers. The production mills won't buy yard tree, obviously because of metal. And when I buy logs from all these tree trimmers, I always ask them, the first question is, how close was it to the house? And when they tell me how close it was, I guarantee it's got nails in it. So what we do, we use a metal detector and we try to locate, and we don't get it all the time. But our blades are $110 a piece. A production mill's blade's gonna be $5,000. So we can take a hit, which we do. Usually, these bimetal blades now, you can cut, you can go through 2 or 3 nails before you take the teeth out. And you know, you got a $110 loss, of course. But what's great about the yard trees from tree trimmers, you get all different types of species that we never dream of getting. You know, Australian pine, you'll get this flamboyant. You'll get all different types of trees that people have brought in to grow in our region. So that really makes a difference where you can pick up the oddball lumber that we don't. Normally everybody's got red oak, white oak, you know, walnut, cherry, whatever. So that's the neat thing about yard trees. And most of the time, these trees are 100, 200 years old. They've been in a yard. But again, 200 years ago, somebody was cleaning a squirrel, tying up a horse, hanging a clothesline pole, and my favorite's insulators. You know, back in the 20s and 30s, they put them porcelain insulators. You won't find them unless you hit them with your blade, and it ain't pretty. So, and what's sad about insulators, what I've learned over the years, you know, you got your butt log, there's where you're going to hit all your nails. Well, the insulator's on the second log, so you don't check it as close. And when you hit that, it just takes the teeth right off. But anyway, that's here nor there on, you know, finding metal. But that's why we don't pay them much for it either. My tree trimmer said, boy, Dan, you didn't give me any money for this. Well, no, take it to the production mill. Well, the production mill ain't gonna buy it. You know, it's got nails in it. So that's one of our, I don't want to call that a secret, but we use that a lot. We buy a lot from these tree trimmers. I've even come to the point now where I tell a tree trimmer, don't bring me no oak, don't bring me no pine. You know, I got 400 logs. I won't live that long, you know, to cut them up. So, but I'm always after big walnut. And big walnut, oh my gosh. To give you an example, I drove to Hannibal, Missouri and picked up a 44-inch walnut. That's a big walnut. And then I drove to Dexter, Missouri and picked up a 40-inch walnut. So those are rare, but I'm always after big ones. I mean, I'll drive to get those because we don't get those around here very often. And if we do, we get them what we call honeycomb. They got holes in them. So when you're cutting them, of course, let me go back to honeycomb for a second. With the new age of epoxy, you don't throw nothing away. I mean, it can be cracked, holes, split. If my dad was alive and seen what we're selling, he'd want to know how we slept at night. I'd tell him real well, Pop, real well. So, okay, now the other thing I want to go over too, being in Grafton, we flood. Oh my God, we're a town that floods. Let's go back. 1993, in the building I'm in, it's 7,000 square feet, we had 10 foot of water in there. That's devastating. Well, in 2019, I had 7 foot of water in there. And at 7 foot, we emptied everything out. Anybody are familiar with our business at all or been to Grafton? Well, you know our building, how much wood we got in there. We probably got 10,000 board feet easy. But we cleared everything out except the barnwood. I thought, what the hell, it ain't gonna hurt barnwood. Well, I was wrong. The door blew off on the west side, put a current in there, took the barnwood I left in there, and went through 9 windows. And we don't have flood insurance, you can't afford it. So that created a disaster, it really did. But that's one of the things we put up with. People always ask me, says, why do you stay here? Well, first of all, I tell them, low IQ don't hurt. But the other thing is, we're a tourist town, and during the summer, on a good weekend, we'll have 300 or 400 people come through our shop. And that's a nice little business. So, you give a little, take a little. We work for it. That's just part of Grafton. And again, that low IQ don't hurt a thing. So, employees. Oh my God. How many people here have employees? Of course, we're all retired, supposedly. Employees in today's market is such a problem. I don't know how many I've went through. I give up. I don't know. But anyway, we got a couple of them. I'll tell you a couple of stories. Kid comes in. Now this kid's 25 years old. We're lifting 2-inch lumber, 6 to 8 feet long, and we're stacking it. He works the first day, calls off on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. His arms hurt. He wasn't used to that kind of work. Comes back Thursday, and he goes, we stacked 2-inch lumber again. And this is green lumber, thicker than that. He calls off again. I said, you better find another career. This ain't gonna work. I mean, they're just their thumbs. That's the only thing they work. And then another one, I'll tell you another kid. Again, 25-year-old kid, 6'5", big kid. Not fat, but kind of stout. We don't have air conditioning. The old building we got was built in 1920. It's concrete blocks. It's hot. And we don't have air. He comes in and he goes, he works the first day, and it was in August. It was probably 95. At the end of the day, he says, Dan, he says, I'm going to have to take a couple weeks off. He says, I just can't work in this heat. I can't take it. And I said, well, why don't you wait till December and then come and see me? This is the kind of kids that we get. And we get some good ones, don't get me wrong. And then working in what we do with the wood business and that, it's a stepping stone to move on and be better. But, that stepping stone's tough. So it's you hear it all the time about employees. Well, it's true. I can attest to it. So, sawmills. Okay, we've got 3 sawmills, and the one will cut a 30. The Woodmiser 15. Anybody familiar with that one? The 15 wide, they call it. It'll cut a 32-inch log, which is pretty good. Now, the one I've got, when they sell it bare bones, you have to push the blade through. You have to push it. A lot of us here got gray hair. Don't recommend it. Spend the extra $1,800 and get a power feed. You turn the dial and it goes through the log. It's not designed for young people or old people like us. It's you want that power feed. Spend the extra money and get it. The LT70, that's more of a production mill, and it will, it'll cut 800 board feet an hour, which is not for us old guys again. It's for young people, but we cut, if we cut 3 logs a day, we're lucky, because we're turning the log and trying to get the best out of it. And then the Cooks, which is out of Alabama, it'll cut a 54-inch log, and it's strictly designed for slabbing, as we call it. So it's a pretty good mill. The only thing about the Cooks, the Woodmiser LT70 is all hydraulic and computerized, and the Cook's all manual. But we have a forklift, and we set it on, we take it off, and it makes life so much easier. So pretty nice mill. So, And then, oh, I told you about buying logs. Most of our logs come from tree trimmers. And, you know, these yard trees, it's a give and take. You get a good one and you can get a bad one that's got a horseshoe in it. I've actually had one that had a shotgun in it. Somebody had laid a shotgun against this tree and the tree grew around that shotgun. And of course I found it. $110 later, I found it. So, yeah, that's true too. And also to let you know, we do a lot of custom cutting. We cut a lot of trailer decking. If you bring us your log, we'll cut it to your specs. Any of that we have available. And then I'm going to tell you a story about, did anybody here know Bill Hibden, Hibden Hardwoods? Yeah. Bill's got his place for sale down there by North Broadway. We used to cut a lot for Bill. We'd go down, we had a portable mill, and we go down and cut for Bill. He had a, mostly all exotics. Coca-Cola was one that we cut thousands of board feet for Coca-Cola. And Coca-Cola, if you're familiar with it, it's one of the hardest woods out there. And they use it to make violins with. And old Bill, we'd go down there and he'd say, now, if you think that blade's gonna dive, throw that blade away, we'll buy a new one. Because the Coca-Cola, that wood is so hard that when you're cutting that through, it ain't nothing for that blade to dive on it. And you're looking at a board, a 1x8, 5 foot long, $100 board. And he'd have containers of that stuff. So we used to always cut a lot of that Coca-Cola for Bill down there. But anyway, the reason I brought that up is we do sell exotic woods. We have like Purple Heart, Paduke, Yellow Heart, Zebra, whatever. So how many people have been to Grafton? Did I show that? Oh my God. Well, good. Very good. Well, if you haven't been to Grafton, please come by. So, any questions? Anything I can answer or think I can answer? Yes.
How thin can you cut? Let's say veneer.
Okay, probably a 1/4 inch.
So, okay.
Yeah, not down to an 1/8.
Okay.
And the reason is that blade will ride when you're coming through it.
Does the thickness of the cut matter in terms of how much the blade rides? Or
Yes, yeah,
So the thinner the cut, the more likely the ride.
that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't, well, what I tell most people when they're wanting a really thin stuff, it's gonna waffle. You know, when you get wood that's gonna waffle, you've wasted your time, so.
Yeah, but thinking about a 54-inch diameter walnut log.
Oh, yeah, you can't do that. Yeah, no, that ain't gonna work.
Do you see much maple?
Yeah, we do.
I was looking for some 16-4 maple and couldn't find it anywhere.
I think we got some, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And, oh, yes, we do. I should have brought that up. The name of our business is Knotty by Nature, Knotty. And I have some business cards up here if anybody would like to get one. And it does have our website on it. So, yeah, Knotty by Nature. Actually, it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to figure out what the hell we're gonna name this business. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and thought, Knotty by Nature, that's a cool name. And I had a piece of paper there, and I thought, I gotta write this down, I'll forget, which I did in the morning, but I had written it down, and that's where we come up with that name.
Do you ever cut river logs?
No. I'll tell you a story about river logs. We're right on the river. River logs normally got sand and dirt and are just terrible on blades. The last river log that I cut was about 5 or 6 years ago. A big walnut. Fished it out of the river. Thought, oh man, this is gonna be a good one. After I hit my 11th nail, I threw it back in the river. You just don't want to do that.
How do people make money doing that?
Well, I don't know. I can't answer that. You know, we don't, like I said, I have enough problems with nails with just yard trees with tree trimmers, but river logs, they got sand, they got muck, and most of the time, they're cottonwoods or maples, because they grow along the river, so. Yes,
2 questions.
sure.
Am I correct that all your sawmills are bandsaw?
Yes, yes.
And do you have 5-quarter cherry?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so.
Are you quarter sawing anything?
We do, most of the time, the only quarter saw we do is white oak. Once in a while, I do have a little bit of cherry left over. I probably got a couple hundred board feet of cherry we quarter sawed a long time ago. But most of the time, white oak, because that's the most popular. So.
You said that you don't kiln dry your logs until they hit 22%.
That's correct.
Are you drying the whole log to 22%?
Oh, no,
Or are you
no.
cutting the lumber and then waiting until it gets to?
That's correct. We cut the lumber and then we dry it to 22. You know, it doesn't matter how, if that log's been down for 6 years, it don't matter. When we cut it, then we dry it down to 22.
And then you kiln dry it.
Then we kiln dry it. And there's 2 species that I don't kiln dry. Cypress, very porous, dries itself. Cedar, we don't dry cedar. Cedar, very porous, air dries itself down, relative humidity is what, 11.8? So once it gets down to that, it's pretty stable. So those are 2 that we do not run through the kiln. But most all your really good hardwoods, we do dry. So.
Do you have any white pine?
Yes. Mhm. Yellow pine, white pine. I even have some ponderosa pine from Montana. I have 2 kids who live in Montana, so when I go out and visit the kids, I always bring back blue stain pine and ponderosa pine. Well, this last year, let's see, it was the day after, or we were leaving the day after Labor Day. Well, that Thursday, my son calls me. He says, "Hey, Pop," he says, "you might want to wait a while." He says, "I got COVID." I said, "How in the hell do you get COVID? You live in Montana in the middle of nowhere." Well, he took the granddaughter to college over in Missoula. That's where he got it. So anyway, I didn't go, and I was being beat up for this ponderosa pine. They're 16 foot long, 4 inches thick, 30 inches wide. And so I finally hired a trucking company to bring it back. I never did make it. Ooh, is that pricey? I'm still scarred. But anyway, yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So you have logs that, an inventory of logs, so if you could go in there and say, I'd be looking for some 4-inch by 4-inch walnut that goes through the pith of the tree, so I can.
Yeah, yeah,
So you have, so I can go in there and say.
yeah.
Can you cut it for me?
Yeah, and most of the time, I've got logs up in Hardin, maybe 100 up there, and then over in Brighton, maybe another 100. But yeah, we can cut it to that spec for sure. So.
One more question.
Sure.
Back to walnut. So you have some in your inventory that another customer that is, this is gonna sound weird, but is mostly sapwood with the lighter.
Oh, with the white on it? Yeah.
I know it's
Yeah.
weird impression.
Oh, yeah. No, we have people that love the sap lines.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I've been up to your shop several times.
Oh, good.
It's great up there. Where are the artists from that make your tables?
Oh my gosh. All over. I mean, we have artists that are coming out of Galesburg, Hazelwood, Missouri, Lakeland, Florida, all over. You know, we have what we do is we have the vendors, we call them vendors. We got about 15 of them, and our waiting list is about 12 right now to put stuff into the shop. Yeah, they're from all over the country. Yeah, we try to pick out the artists that unusual and different. If it's weird, that's what we want. Yeah.
One other
Camphor. Camphor, yeah. Smells like Vicks, Campho-Phenique. They get the oils from it. The last time I was down there, I think I bought 60 of them camphor big cookies. We got a camphor cookie twice the size of these tables. 10 foot, this is a cross cut, 10 foot by 66. And they had to cut a foot off of each side so we could saw it. Or they sawed it for me. I couldn't saw it either, so. But yeah, camphor, we have a lot of camphor. Of course, cypress. Those are probably our two biggest from Florida. Eucalyptus, we do a lot of eucalyptus too. So, but the problem with that camphor, it gets so big, but what happens is the hurricanes get them when they get too big. And with Florida, with the high water table, they're surface roots, so when they get so big, they're going to go over if they have a hurricane. So.
Question about nails again.
Oh,
I grew
yeah.
up in Indiana. In our barnyard, we had a walnut tree which died. So we have Frank Miller Hardwoods in this little town in Indiana, pretty famous sawmill company and so on. They sold a lot of quarter sawn
Mhm.
to the Stickley company for their mission furniture and so on. So I got to be friends with that guy, and I had him saw it up, just plain saw it. And he saw some sparks once in a while. Well, it's a barnyard, okay?
Oh, yeah.
There's no question there's metal in it and so on, whether it's bullets or whether it's nails or whatever.
Yeah.
I've always been afraid of it. I have a wand and so on. Is there any somewhat foolproof way, if it's only like 5'4" thickness and so on, how successful is that, or how accurate is that to actually find metal?
Buy the good wand.
Give me I have the real long one and so on.
Yeah,
Give me a company.
the last one I bought, it was $800. I'm trying to think, yeah. This was for logs. And I want to say it was a Dalmar. I think it was a Dalmar. But it was $800. And yeah, but you can buy the good ones, and I think Dalmar makes them too, and they're about $100. But yeah, don't buy that one that's $19.95. It's.
But if you have a decent one, is it somewhat accurate?
Yeah.
Maybe not to say it's right here.
But they are accurate. But you got to get that step up. It's kind of like epoxy. Anybody that works with epoxy, you can buy that epoxy so cheap, but it's cheap. Where you want the good epoxy, you got to pay for it. Otherwise, it's going to crack or break or whatever. So.
Would it find bullets? I mean, does lead show up with a wand?
It will, especially if it's a musket ball, but it will show up. But lead's not that bad. It's soft. Your screws, your modern Phillips head screws, holy cow, that spring steel, that's tough. A regular old nail, we're almost happy to hit a regular nail. You hit them spring, they're terrible. They take the teeth off. So.
Have you ever heard of snake wood?
Yes, I have.
South America?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have any, but yeah.
I do. I love it. It's the
Yeah.
most beautiful wood I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I got a block 3 squared by about 20, and I've had it for a number of years because I didn't want to cut into it. It's very hard, very dense, very brittle, and it checks and splinters unless you're using extremely sharp tools. And now a guy wants me to make something for it, and I wondered how long does it take to get snake wood dry down to 12%?
How old is it?
I've read it for 10 years.
Oh, I think you should be dry.
Okay, it's covered with, when they sell it to me, it's always covered in wax, good deal of wax.
Yeah, you used to still be, you should be good. That old, I mean, you're going to take that wax off of it.
Yeah.
Take that wax, do you have a moisture meter?
I don't, but I could get one.
Yeah, just double check it with a moisture meter. We live and die by moisture meters. And there's another item. If you're going to buy a moisture meter, get a good one. You know, I mean, it's just nature of the beast. Wagner's not bad. Wagner's pretty good. We use the electronic ones. We were using the pen ones, but we kind of switched over to the electronics. So, but yeah, get a good moisture meter. We live and die by them. So, any other questions, folks? Well, listen, thank you so much for letting me introduce our store. And anytime, I've got some business cards up here if anybody needs one. It looks like a lot of you have been to Grafton. And of course, you know where that, yeah, motorcycle or that little tourist town that has a lot of liquor. So, thanks again, fellas, folks. Good job. Thank you.
Guys, before we leave, I want to bring up one thing. The fundamentals class is about a third of the way done. And if you're interested in getting on a wait list, send an email to vicepresident@slwg.org and I'll schedule another class. Same thing for the beginners woodworking class. If you're a beginner and want to take that beginners class, I don't have another one scheduled, but if you send me an email, I'll make a wait list and we'll put that class together. That's it. Thanks, guys.